Everyone. Hello. Welcome back to my channel. I'm always so happy to find you here. I do upload on Mondays and Thursdays, so when you subscribe, click subscribe anytime while watching this video. You'll be notified when you have your notifications turned on when I have uploaded new content for your view. And of course, my pleasure, and it is my pleasure. Welcome to any new subscribers here. It's my delight and pleasure to have you here. I hope you stay for a good long while. I hope you bring a friend with you next time. I am back for part 2 of my video upload regarding the ego and positional power, particularly in the workplace. And for this video, I'm going to tie that to and use the example of the Me Too movement from 2018 to about 2022, as we're all probably very familiar with the Me Too movement and how it hit Hollywood. Right? Yeah. So, as we know, many names came from the complaints, various different complaints from not only women, but men who were coerced into having sexual relationships to improve their career or to get their career further. And some were even taken by what I would say taken by force. In the language of some of those complaints, it was called inappropriate sexual interactions. Well, there's no such thing, in my view, in the workplace and in my profession, because I'm one of those who would be investigating such a claim. If a person says to you no, and you proceed anyway, you are violating that person's right in that moment, and you are committing sexual harassment. Now, what's very disturbing to me, and anyone else in personnel management, and certainly at higher levels of it, in which they are responsible for responding to these type of claims, I'll say, is we're looking at this is how this is all playing out in Hollywood. And we're learning what not to do, what to pivot from, and what to take note from. But the one thing that was certainly bothersome to me was the nicety of the language, because language is very powerful, certainly in such a claim. So for example, let's just use Matt Lauer, for example. More than one, more than two, several women complained that as they were walking out of his office, he pushed a button underneath his desk and locked the door. Well, this is entrapment. To some degree, this is holding a person hostage. If they ask to let them out of the room and you refuse to, it could be considered kidnap. It could be considered holding a person hostage. It is definitely entrapment. But they didn't call it that. If a person says to you, no, I don't want to have sex with you, and then you say, well, your career isn't going to go any further if you do, this is retaliation. But they didn't call it that. If you say to the person, if you don't go out of this room and have sex with me, you won't get any job anywhere in Hollywood. Your career is over. That is a threat. That is bullyism. That's retaliation. All of this, as we saw in the Me Too complaints, that it was almost a Hollywood definition, meaning so defined and so deeply rooted into Hollywood, into the ways of Hollywood, that it was almost expected. It was circumcised shamefulness, I'll say. Now, these are my words. These are my words. every person in supervision, particularly here in California, across the states also in America, and I'm sure abroad as well, have to take sexual harassment training, and every 2 years for 2 hours at a time. So you can't say that you didn't know. Now that now that's just the what I would call a minimized version of the groundwork, I'll say. That's just me giving a just a little capsule of the minimized version of the groundwork. Just don't do it. I have suggested to people not to even compliment another person. Because if they take it the wrong way and get offended, it could be a claim. There's sexual harassment, there's workplace harassment, there is inappropriate text, there is inappropriate emails, there are Facebooking a person and they don't, there's social media, there's all kinds of things that a person could be offended by in the workplace. Now, can't we just conduct ourselves as adults and be careful and just say, hey, I'm sorry, I expressed an interest in you. I'm sorry it's not mutual. I'll never do it again. That's fair ground. That's fair. Because, a lot of successful relationships come from work. People meet their spouses there. But on the flip side of that, there's a lot of messiness that happens where people break up, then they can't get along, then you have to part the waters for them, have one of them working at different, it's just a lot that comes with it, is what I'm saying. And the positional power will demand to get the upper hand on it. And it's just a lot. It's just a lot. So I encourage everyone to conduct yourself with such kindness and the capacity of compassion across the board that people look up to you too highly to try such a low down thing in the first place. Okay, so that's one. That doesn't mean they won't try. But that is to me what I call a little natural defense. So many names came out of Hollywood. Like I said, I'm going to drop the list in the description box, but there were so many names that we couldn't keep up with it. We just couldn't keep up with it. And they were all surprising because the image we see before the camera is nothing like what was being reported. So there are two sides of the person. A side that just shocks you, particularly R. Kelly. And what women were saying he would have them to do. And you go, the chocolate factory dude? He did not. It's just alarming. But something along the way in the ego said, I can do this and get away with it. Why? Because everybody else is too. It was almost a common thread in Hollywood. People just turned the other cheek and act like they didn't know it. It was the shush society until there became one powerful voice after another, after another, after another. And that was followed by one courageous conversation about the Me Too movement. And a person rose through the ashes to help us make it known. And that is Ronan Farrow. Now, where did he get the courage to take on all of Hollywood? These are my words. I'm thinking as a child of Hollywood, growing up with Mia Farrow and Woody Allen as his parents, he saw a lot too. Went to an Ivy League school, worked for a newspaper, probably heard the stories all the time. And it got to the point to where he felt he had to do something about it. And when a person feels they have to do something about a thing, nothing can seem to stop them. Because now the passion of their soul is in control. And good luck trying to quiet that down. Once the passion of your soul is in control, it will not stop until it reaches purposeful destination. And usually at the end of that is a necessary change. And that's what happened. And in the process of that is exactly what I said in part one of this. It killed a lot of egos. Now, people say it ruined a lot of careers. No, you ruined your career when you did that. I'm not for ruining anyone's career. I, I invest in people's career. I advocate for your promotion. I make sure the compensation is suitable for what I'm going to make. I'm an advocate for that. But I also am very bothered by bad behavior that seems to promote itself by the way of the position of the person that's doing it, because no one can do anything about the person that's doing it. I often am bothered by that. And I have learned to capsulize it for myself and say, you don't let it happen in your company. And that's the best you can do. But the stronger giant in me says, the whole idea of it needs to stop. That's somebody's daughter. That's somebody's sister. That's somebody's mother. That's somebody's dear friend. And nowadays, gender isn't necessarily it. It could be a male to a male, a female to a female. So it could be any person who does not want to be violated. Who wants to be violated? No one. No one. And I'll end with this. If I'm going to make my heart cry, I'll end with a good cry. The most difficult one, more difficult even than the Me Too movement, which was so broad, particularly in Hollywood, is incest of any type, but certainly the Catholic Church and altar boys. I just can't ever put myself around that. Let me tell you why. You can't either, I'm sure, but let me bring you inside my soul. That hurts me deeply because those are children who are honored to be an altar boy to someone they hold in the highest regard in reverence. There's no one in their imagination or thought at that age closer to God than that person. It is the highest form of piosity, I would say, to take advantage of a young boy like that, a young child. Because what often happens, and I've heard many reports on it, is the boy gets trapped in the man when he grows up. That same boy is still there in shock. He wasn't able to even tell his parents. He was afraid. I've heard them in interviews say, I was afraid that God would be mad at me because that, there's a positional power. That person is so, I'm only a 10-year-old kid. It scars them for life. And some of them can't even confront the person that victimized them as they age into adulthood. They're shameful. They're shamed by it. They were too afraid to say anything then. And people say, why did you say anything then? Well, there was a child. He got stuck in silence and couldn't even say. It's unfathomable to me. I can't, I can't. There's nothing anyone can ever say to me to make me understand it. And probably you either. It's just no answer, rhyme, or reason for it. And the same applies for anyone who takes advantage of a child. If you're a babysitter and you fondled a child, I've heard I've heard people say that. My babysitter made me have sex with them when I was 9 years old. I can't, I can't, I can't imagine it. But it's common. It's the, you know what? That person, now, see my energy shift. I'm like, send them to jail. I don't care. When you get older, you have her go back and, but they can't even, they're still the child that was victim. Very few of them can adult up, go face the trauma again, rescue the child, and go after the person victimized. Very few can do that because they're traumatized. That's why I can't understand it. That is positional power. You were the babysitter of that kid. Positional power. You were the head of the church of that altar boy, the head of the Catholic Church. You were the bishop of whatever. Positional power. You were the person that would give them a raise or lay them off or fire them. Positional power in Hollywood, your career. All of this is ego. See, man, I'm never, ever, ever going to accept a reason for it. The person said no. That was a child. And I'm going to end with this. I'm now reminded because you see my energy. When I read about it, I want to know, but it's a hard truth to know. But I hear about those USA gymnastics and how their coach was fondling them and doing examinations on them and saying they were stretching their muscles. Well, this is nonsense. And you see I feel my anger. I feel the anger when I talk about this because I can never, ever, I can never, I can never, ever get into why a person would do that. It's a severe sickness. It's unacceptable. You ruined a person's life. That person will forever carry that with them. Now, I hope they're healing. I pray the grace of forgetfulness, but few of them ever will, because it is a trauma that follows them. That's why I can't understand it. So be careful in your positional power. If you're unable, acknowledge apology and accountability. And at the inception of the poor deed, end it. And if it doesn't end altogether, that person needs to be removed from the position. There's just another way. Because as long as we don't, they'll be the next victim. And next time it'll be you or your child or me or my child. This is why you have to do it. Now, I'm talking from understanding and experience and seeing it in an industry and at work and in families and the things that people do, and even in politics, where people can ruin a career and bully you and all of that. And these types of behaviors need to stop. And those of us who are as impassioned about it are the ones that need to insist on such a change. Okay? And I love you. I hope you gotten this far to this video. Please click subscribe. I'll see you next time. And thanks for understanding. And thanks for accommodating my energy. You see how I feel about the subject. Be nice. Treat others. You know what? Instead of treating others what you can tolerate, treat others better than you did yesterday, better than you will tomorrow, better than you had before. Just be a better than person, a greater than person. Better than, greater than on a daily basis. And I love you, and I'll see you next time. Don't forget to click subscribe. Leave a positive comment down. I love you. Bye. Bye, y'all.